Okay, welcome everybody to the Referral Challenge Q&A Mastermind call for Friday, June the 2nd. Before I started the recording, we were talking with Fred about the launch of his newest product, which is called the Client Combine Blueprint. And it's going very, very well, as you can imagine, because Fred made it and his stuff is always great. But one of the things that we were talking about was the importance, or we're just discussing, was incorporating some type of coaching or support access to Fred in the product. And so, Fred, could you just reiterate what you said about that?
Yeah. So I in hindsight, after we launched the product, I got a pretty good amount of questions about because it is rebrandable, and so people get, I say, somewhat confused. They think, oh, that means I can just put my logo on it. Well, it does mean that, but it also means that the entirety of the program is changeable for you to fit your population of people, your clientele, because I couldn't possibly know, if I'm selling a product across the globe, who everybody's ideal clients are. And it also has to fit into your programming. So, if I say, one of my standards is a barbell deadlift, and you have a facility without bars, and you're going to assume that, what are you doing? I didn't even see him. Saying hi? I'm still there. I was wondering what you were laughing at. So, people were questioning in and saying, okay, well, would I be able to use this product if I don't do barbell squats? And I said, well, you do any leg strengthening exercises? And they say, oh, yeah. And I say, well, that's how you would rebrand it. You would brand it to fit your facility and the things that you do on a regular basis. And then they were like, oh, okay. And I said, yeah, so I gave you the blueprint of exactly how I do it, but now that it's kind of like, it's the bones, right? So now you got to plug in, your facility, your clients, and, maybe your limitations as far as equipment or space, and a light bulb went off, and I probably should have done more of that. I made assumptions, and that was a mistake. So then we decided, hey, I'll go back and do 2 group implementation calls where I can go through each folder, similar to what you're doing here. I mean, and the analogy I made was, imagine getting the referral challenge in a zip folder and opening that bad boy up with no coaching. Holy smokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter how good it is, it would just bury people. Now, granted, the client combine is not anywhere near as robust as yours, but still, it's got people in quickstand trying to figure out how they, implement it into their facilities. So,
yeah,
I'm going to take care of all of that.
And just incredibly wise to do that. And I'll tell you that when I was at lunch with Rick Streb and Alicia Strieger the other day, and we were discussing this very topic, not specifically about your product, Fred, but about coaching, support, and these types of implementation calls, things like that, adding that personal contact and communication element to products and the importance of that, the value of it, and the need for it, because people want it. They absolutely want it, and we always want to sell what people want, number one, but also because, as you just clearly addressed, and rightfully so, it makes the consumption of the product and the implementation of the product so much easier, because even the smallest little doubt in somebody's head, everything else, 95% can be clear, but if they got a 5% doubt, they don't do anything. Yeah. And so just by being able to get on a call, with you, listen to you, and then maybe ask you a couple questions and get clarity, they can move forward. So smart to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I should have probably thought about this in the past with a lot of my products. So you live and learn.
Yeah, no doubt you do. But it's you can take this even further if you start thinking about, the value of I'll tell you, just in the internet marketing space, or selling online, let's say that, there's been a sort of a trend that's been interesting to witness. And this is another thing Rick and Alicia and I were discussing at lunch, is that when I started way back in the day, in the early 2000s, we were able to sell, like my very first product was $500. I didn't even have anything below $500, and it sold like hotcakes. I sold 3,000 of those things, and that's what launched my business. And then once I created MPE, we went to even higher price, very high price products. I mean, some in the 500 and some in the multi-$1,000. And the level of coaching and support that we provided was very, very high. People wanted it and bought it. But then over the last, let's say, 6 years or so, things have gotten very challenging in terms of selling higher priced products. There was a drop off. Some people are still doing it very successfully, but there was definitely a drop off. But now it appears that we're coming back. And I think that could be, you could attribute that in general possibly to just a higher level of optimism among consumers. You know, people are feeling more optimistic about the economy. That's my take on it. I could be wrong. But the bottom line is that people want this stuff, and now it appears they're again willing to pay for it. And so I mentioned this, not just you sell online and offline, of course, but those of you who just exclusively sell offline, I mention it because one of the things you ought to consider, and here's another quick, let me parenthetically add this. Rick was telling us that he was just up at AJ Mirzad's online training summit up in New York or something like that. And AJ had one of his clients do a testimonial and talk about how she's a fitness professional, sold an online training package to one person for $48,000, a 1-year training program, $48,000. And she sold it in person, but delivers it online. Now, the reason I mention this is because people will, that is what's called the ultimate slack adjuster. That's what Dan Kennedy refers to as a slack adjuster. You sell one of those, you don't need to sell too much else, other things. That helps your profit margins considerably. So the point that I'm getting at is look at how you can incorporate higher touch offerings into what you have now with your training clients, because there are going to be one or two or a half dozen maybe that want a whole lot of personal attention from you and are willing to pay handsomely for it. So something you can think about.
Absolutely.
Well, that was a bit of a rant, but I wanted to share some things that we discussed. Had a really good lunch with those guys. So
I bet.
Yeah, it was fun. All right. Well, then let's just, since we're already talking with you, Fred, why don't you just share what's going on with you and let us know how we can help you.
So as far as the referral challenge, I'm still up to date on everything. I've already got my Facebook page for Local by Referral. Got my little graphic made, stuff like that. And the cool thing about, this is not a pitch for my products, but the cool thing for my products is that they were all very organic. So if somebody were to fly to Louisiana today, they would see me using every single thing that I sell. I didn't make up any of that just to try to make money. And the whole idea, which is why I was glad to get connected with, I'm not sure how I got connected with you. Maybe it was the virtual fitness mastermind, but when I read the sales copy, I'm like, this is just me, because I saw, and Camellia can tell you, been working with Camellia, and she's like, you just have a complete referral business. And I really do. It's like everything I do is about generating leads from the people that I already have. And so the fitness testing system and the events, was born just because I'm like, all right, I have all these people. And what I have learned just by working with other individuals is they spend all this time marketing and promoting their business, and they forget about the people that are already paying them right now today. And so for me, it was member retention. I'm like, all right, I got all these members. I don't want to turn around and lose them because it doesn't make any sense. And so, I just sit around thinking around ideas, and I came up with this standard. It's not new. There's other people that are doing it. But I said, you know what? I need to come up with one that's going to fit into my population of people, my standard. And it's about retention. And believe it or not, I got the idea from taking my son to Taekwondo. So I signed him up for Taekwondo. He gets his first belt. He's like a drug addict afterwards. Next thing I know, I'm 2.5 years into this, and it'll be 5 years before he gets his black belt. And make no mistake, he'll get it. Well, that's 5 years that business is going to get out of me. That was how I got the idea. So my bands are actually like belts. It's like a white belt, a yellow belt, a silver belt, and a black belt. Basically how it works. And if you literally start somebody from white and keep them until they get to black, it's going to be 3 years, 4 years. So it's beautiful. Not only that, they see the result. They can't help themselves. They're going to recruit everybody they know. It's the same thing that happens in a karate school. And then the in-house events were the same thing. I saw what I witnessed was my members getting teams together to go do competitions at other places. And I said, well, wait a second. I got 8,000 square feet. I'm going to hold my own damn competitions and make my own money from it, you know? So that was where I got the idea, you know, the Warrior Dash and the Tough Mudder and all these different things.
Yeah.
So I tried it, you know, we recruited 60 people, I made money, and then when I got the partners, you know, the next couple of events were all paid for by sponsors, and it became pure profit. I'm like, this is genius. And people were happy. They had so much fun. So now it's like they look forward to it. I run 3 a year, you know, and that was why I was like, oh my God, I got to package this up. This is like good stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, in regards to the referral challenge, my members stay. And they like it, and they always have something to look forward to other than the monotony of just coming to the gym.
Right.
As good of a job as we do, it's still something that happens every day, you know, and it's like there has to be more. That's just the way human beings are designed.
Yeah.
So partners are going good. I'm still marketing my businesses. I'm getting really good at that, dialing in, doing a monthly, partner spotlight or whatever you call it, you know, coming up, them coming up with some promotion. And I send it out, and I put it on my screens, and I send it out to my client list, you know, my immediate active client list, and then I send it out to my main list as well. And so the goal is to get those 46 people to be coming to my gym for free and then supporting all my events. Beautiful. I mean, I can't get any more excited than I am. And I'm fine-tuning it, you know, the systems little by little. And I'll quit talking after this, but this is what I tell people. You got to sit, you have to think about what I'm about to say for more than 30 seconds. We just ran a fundraiser, and right now it topped $30,000. 1 hour. 1 hour. It don't just happen on accident. And people are like, oh, that's pretty good. I'm like, no, you're not thinking about it. $30,000. And I have people that are part of nonprofits that come to my gym and they say, Fred, we haven't been able to raise that much in an entire year. Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's a culmination of every single thing that I do, and it's all referral and partner, quote unquote, related.
So let me jump in right here, Fred, and you hit on a critical point, and here's the point. You get all the systems in place, but systems don't create a movement, right? Systems don't create movements. People create movements. And so when you hand out, you know, your online product, the real challenge here is getting people to create that movement within their own four walls, right? We've got the referral challenge. We've got all the tools.
No doubt.
It takes a human to implement the movement, right? So if you can bottle the movement, you're rich. Rich.
Yeah. Which leads to another point, and this is an aside, but to that point, and regarding the client combine blueprint, there are going to be some buyers there that you should sell one-on-one coaching to, where you just specifically take them by the hand and show them how to be a mini you, a mini Fred Zoller, you know, or not a mini, but how to be their own version of what you do. Because as Aaron rightfully says, it is about people. It's the system. You need a great system, but ultimately it comes down to the person, the people behind the system.
I'm going to step out for 1 second and bring my son to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Okay. Just interesting stuff. You know, I think we're all impressed with the things that Fred does. does a lot of stuff. And that's one of the things that impresses me the most is how much he does. And that's how he figures things out and dials stuff in, it seems, because he's constantly testing new things. But to that $30,000 number, I'll tell you that in all the years we did push-ups for charity, I think the biggest single day with one facility was somewhere around $22,000, and that was pretty substantial. The average was like 3 to 5 or 3 to 7 per event. Luckily, we had a lot of people doing them, so we raised a lot of money quickly. But yeah, so to do 30 grand in 1 hour, it's astonishing.
Well, it is astonishing, but it also speaks to the fact that Fred did more than have a system, right? He framed the whole system around what really matters, the charity, right? And the charity creates the movement, back to the comment, right? So Iron Tribe does the same thing. They've got, 50 locations, but among those 50 locations, they just did another this year's annual Water for Water, and it's over $500,000, right? Among the franchise-wide, right? But here was, and Fred, this is something you might want to think about moving forward, is that they have private businesses that are ready to match donors. And so they have other businesses like your current advertising businesses within your facility. If you were to go to them and say, listen, we're looking for matching donors up to, well, in Iron Tribe's case, it's up to $250,000. So then it's on the onus is on the franchisees then to find that other $250,000. Because if they do, then they have a maximum outlay of support to the charity. So maybe getting your members, your advertisers on board to match funds up to X amount could really propel you next year into the stratosphere.
That's awesome. Yeah, we actually had, it wasn't one of my partners, but the fundraiser that we did was for a little 3-year-old that has SMA type 2. But her grandfather's business matched what he raised. Perfect. Which ended up being a pretty substantial chunk. I think it was about 6 or 7 of the 30,000. Right. Because he was able to raise, 3 and some change by himself. And so yeah, I've never pitched that. That's a good idea. But yeah, I have a goal for this year to beat my fundraising for last year, which I think I'll do it. And so that'll be my new thing.
How much would that be to beat it from last year?
Last year I did 39,000. This year we've done 2 fundraisers. This one was, I just met with, actually the people that I did it for are taking me and my wife out to dinner tonight with the final number. But she came yesterday and said it was over 30K. And then we ran one in February that did 7,500. So right now I'm at 37.5.
Beautiful. Yeah,
and we're about to we are about to embark on another journey with another big one, and this is going to be in cahoots with some other facilities, but it's going to put us probably pretty close to the 50K mark. It'll definitely do over what I did last year. So, and it won't be the last one. It'll probably be the second to last one, or maybe the third to last one. So, good stuff.
That's exciting. Yeah. Well, congratulations on all the success all the way around. It's awesome and inspiring to hear. I really enjoy it. And I think everybody does, it's good stuff, Fred. Thank you. All right. Very good. Mike, how about we move down to you, brother? Let us know what's going on. And I still owe you all those video updates. I know you asked for them, and we're just a little bit behind as you guys know.
No worries at all. I couldn't catch up all at once anyway. Things are going well. I mean, the Facebook, the check-in for charity is going well. Right now, we currently just started a new admin, so I'm actually working on hopefully next week getting her involved with taking on some of this, some of the new things that we're trying to add. Right now, we have our onboarding. I've been trying to change a lot of that up. We've been very successful with it, but to kind of create the referral culture based upon what you guys provided, I'm trying to really tweak some of the letters, because we have a high population that's athletes, like I had said before, and a high population and a smaller population that's weight loss. So we're trying to gear those letters targeted for both. Same thing with our our partnerships. The one thing I want to make sure is that all the ducks are in a row. So when somebody comes in for an eval or an assessment, that they're getting the right letters are in front of them. The right letters are being mailed to the athletes as opposed to being mailed to somebody for the weight loss. So that's kind of where we are in terms of setting that up. I think we're making some pretty good progress with it. So we technically just have two separate file folders for both, for the sport performance and then for our adult clients as well. I'm really looking forward to getting into what Fred had said in terms of what he does as far as his business, advertising. He does the 50% is an advertising fee. Since the first time he said that, I've really, I spoke with my accountant about it a little bit. So I'm really looking forward to seeing my accountant was like, he was telling me I might have to bill it two separate ways. So I'm really interested to see how they do it, because I think that's going to be really awesome for us. Because we have, not only from our adults that are our business owners, but we also have a high population of our athletes, because it's a decent amount of money that they pay to train here. A lot of our athletes have parents are business owners. So I think that would add a lot of value. And then I can see trying to even blow that up more so and following Fred's trail here, that what he's been doing, I think is phenomenal. So I really think that's awesome. So I think that if we can kind of get that going here, I think we have the ability to do that same type of thing.
I think you're absolutely right, and that sounds great. And so 2 points I want to make. Number one, I know it is a bear doing what you're doing, which is tweaking the onboarding process, or adjusting it rather, for your athletes and everything, and also setting up that system, so that it's divided for your Gen Pop and your athletes. But as you, I think, understand, that will pay off handsomely as you move forward in business, by getting your CRMs lined up, getting your system squared away, having everything, having everything running smoothly for you will allow you to grow quicker and more effectively as you go forward. That's number one. And number two is regarding the athletes. We were talking earlier about selling a higher ticket item to a few people. There won't always be a lot, but with athletes, and I think one of the people you might want to talk to is in the group, and she might be on the call shortly, is Marissa Maltz. Her husband is Vince Maltz, and he's a former professional hockey player, and he works specifically with hockey players, and charges very high prices to provide them on one-on-one type coaching. And it's all mindset related what he does. It's not specific. It's not training specific, but it doesn't matter. The point is that some of those athletes that you have will pay a great deal more for really intensive one-on-one attention, I believe.
No, I agree with you. The one question I have too, in terms of, so with even a lot of our high school and even a lot of our college athletes, they don't have Facebook anymore. So our check-ins haven't been as high as we would like. Do you guys, anybody utilizing Instagram? Because that's where the majority of our athletes are at. And I know we have talked in the past, as far as Fred had said, is linking them together. But tracking, as far as tracking the check-ins, and I'm not really big on Instagram. Like we don't use it that much. It's something that we want to start to do. But I've heard some different things about, making it public. You have to, in order to make a public kind of post like you would do and you check in, making it public, you have to make your whole profile public. Anybody have any kind of info on that at all?
Is that regarding Instagram specifically, in order to make they have a check-in process on Instagram?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. But they said as far as making anything public, instead of just to let whoever's following them on Instagram, instead of, if you want everybody to see it and make it public, they say you have to change your whole profile to public.
Okay. So I don't know much about Instagram. I think I've spent 10 minutes on there the whole time. But I'll tell you who does in our group is very on top of Instagram. and generates a considerable amount of business from his Instagram posts, is Genesis Reed. And I would encourage you to reach out to him. Just start a post in the group and tag him in it and ask the question, and we'll get him to give some feedback, because he's an Instagram expert and who works specifically with the younger population.
Awesome. All right, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, most people are creating a business Instagram if you don't want your personal one to be public. So that way you can also tell your clients to not only check in on Facebook, but if they do the pound, whatever, your Instagram handle, whatever it is, you can count them that way. Problem is you're going to have to go in on every date. Like there's a date stamp. Of course, you can get your admin to do that. I mean, mine does it. It's not terrible, for them to do it. It might take 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, we have a business Instagram. It was from the client's perspective, I guess. They were saying that they had to make it public, their profile public, and they didn't want to do that. We have a business Instagram. So they just put like the hashtag or whatever, our handle, we'll be able to just track it that way, you're saying?
I think so. Yeah, test and measure. Just go ahead and plug one in and go and see if it's there, if you can count it.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty much how you do it.
Awesome. But definitely reach out to Genesis, Mike, and see what he has to say. He's a great guy, real helpful. Camellia works with him, and he'll be happy to help you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, good. All right, Keith, how are you doing, brother? Well, you got a different background again.
I like to shake it up, guys. So keep you guessing.
Is this a new paint job somewhere? Because it looks really nice.
This is my lobby. This is when people walk in the door. That behind me is the first thing they see. So I'm just keep it guessing. You guys, where's Keith gonna be this week, right? So May was just a whirlwind month from starting out with working with Aaron to do a total rebrand on my website. Which, by the way, I mean, if anybody's thinking about copy help, I mean, Aaron was fantastic to work with and went a million times above and beyond anything I would even. I mean, everything we talked about, and he's like, "Here's what I'm going to do." He did 10 times more than that, so it was great. Don't have the website going yet. It's going to be a process. I mean, we got to get other materials together and so forth. But I'm super excited about it. And then, of course, there was the book launch, which that was like 3 or 4 just crazy days in a row. I ended up on the radio because of that. They interviewed me for about 15 minutes on a local radio station, all about the book and then my gym. And there's a local sportscaster here who's a client of mine, and they know him because it was a sports show, so they're asking me about how it is to work with him. And anyway, so tons of exposure from that. And then I have turned around and I did a promotion last week that was just to my email list, and it was like a special deal for a month. And I was just going to share this with everybody. I did this kind of just a special 30-day deal. And then I sent it also to my clients and said, I can't offer you this deal, but if you refer somebody in and they become a member, I'm going to give you a free month just for referring them in. And I got 28 new people in, and 4 of them were just straight up referrals from members. So it worked really well.
Awesome.
So just kind of, so the nice thing about being in this group is just got me more consciously thinking about referrals. So, and then
hold on, Keith, and that was exclusively an internal launch. You did it only to your email list.
I did not advertise it outside of my email list at all.
That's beautiful, because your margin, that means nice fat margins. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't cost me anything, so that was cool. So, but that was good. And then Fred was nice enough to jump on a call with me. Was that 2 weekends ago or whenever it was? He put out a teaser email about this combine that he was putting out, and I've been for a year trying to put together a fitness testing program within my gym, and just was not, just couldn't put in the time and just wasn't doing it. When he said he had this thing coming out, I was like, shoot, tell me a little bit more about it. So he graciously emailed me his number, and we sat on the phone for a little bit, and he kind of walked me through it. And I have a martial arts background, so when he was talking about like the belts and so forth, I was like, man, that's it. So it is an awesome product, Fred. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm obviously gonna be, what I liked about it was it is totally adaptable to your business. I mean, I've got, my setup is similar to his, but there's enough differences that we're going to tweak it some. But I mean, it's, you got the bare bones right there in the blueprint, and it's just a matter of just implementing it. And of course, with me kind of taking on this more superhero theme, that's going to be a part of it. That's going to be our superhero academy or something like that, where we're going to do fitness testing.
Perfect. That's the idea.
Yeah. That is strong stuff. So a couple things because it's just stimulating to listen to this thing. The whole thing about the belts that Fred mentioned earlier, and you just talked about, that is truly brilliant. It's brilliant thinking. And if you look at it, the whole thing about Napoleon Bonaparte, men will die for ribbons type thing. That's the whole premise, is that it's the recognition and the achievement, the ladder of achievement, and you show them a path. It's a clear path of achievement, and they have a goal, a next goal, and they're constantly striving, as Fred mentioned earlier. And so it's brilliant to do that. And if you look at who has modeled that so successfully, is the direct selling industry, multi-level marketing. You get little awards, little things, and some bigger and bigger things, the more and more and more you achieve it. And Dan Kennedy used to always talk about these stories. He'd talk about Mary Kay and how at these Mary Kay conventions, women, if you could stand up and walk and talk, you'd get a ribbon. If you could stand up, walk, talk, and shake hands, you'd get 2 ribbons. It was that kind, and then it just advanced from there all the way up to the pink Cadillac. So it's a proven methodology, a proven process, and I think it's just outstanding. And now you're going to work in your super hero theme with it. That's brilliant. That's great.
Yeah. One of the things I think we're going to work into it as well is to earn your belts, or whatever we're going to give them is going to be something along the line of the charity side of it. There maybe have to be either, whether it's they're attending events we do for charity, they have to attend so many a year or whatever it is, or if they're volunteering on their own. I mean, we'll figure that out, but I want to fold that into it because that's a big part of our superhero brand, so to speak. It's got to be about community as well. It's not just strength and all that other stuff. So that's fantastic.
Keith, this is just off the top of the head, but you might take those belts and make it capes.
That's right. Yep.
Hey, I want to circle back, Keith, to I saw the postings that you were doing around the book launch, and that was awesome. You were cranking the stuff out. So talk about what you did. What was it that led to you getting the publicity and getting this 15-minute interview? Just talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's funny. I'm in the Asheville Chamber group, and we have a Thursday networking group that meets every Thursday for breakfast. And the host of this radio show is in my group. And of course, when I had an opportunity just to speak, I just told everybody that this book launch was coming up. And he said, "Hey, man, I'd love to interview you about it." So I just made sure to stay on his radar. That was months ago when I even brought it up. And so I had to make sure to just continue to remind him, "Hey, by the way, that book's coming out on, next week or whatever." So we just set it up. They have an ESPN show, and it's the Wise Guys, and so they talk sports and so forth. But so it was just, I happened to know the guy from a networking group.
Yeah.
So, I sent out press releases, and I actually got we have a local radio station that also has an online thing called the 828, which is our zip code, and they posted an article about me up there and the book, as well as pictures from the facility and all kinds of stuff that same day. So, and local CBS affiliate is trying to get us together for an interview. They want to interview me and the person that the book was about on camera. So we're hoping to do that next week.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it shows, the massive action combined with relationships, knowing the right people. That's the secret to success.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just staying on top of it for sure.
Yeah. So just FYI for you and for everybody else. So what we want to do with that book is continue to work it. So it was great that, hey, it got bestseller, but now there's a lot of other things that can be done with that book, and we'll talk about that. So like, just as an example, one of the things that you guys can each do is put whatever cover art you want on there, maybe your own picture on there too, certainly your name on it, and still promote it as a best-selling book, but give it a brand, make the branding more about you and your business. And you keep the other stories in there if you want. I mean, I would encourage you to keep the other stories, but you could add more of your own stories, or you could move your story up to the front. You can put in testimonials. You can do whatever you want to manipulate the contents of the book and still say, hey, here's a best-selling book that you can have for $1, or you can have for free, or something. Use it as a lead gen piece, or just as a positioning tool. It's so there's a lot that can be done, and we'll be discussing that going forward.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
yeah, go ahead.
One last thing I'll add too. I've still have never gotten my wall of fame up and going. It's always been since I started this. I was like, I need to get that going. But again, I told you one time, it's like I think all things happen in the right way at the right time. Because of this kind of rebranding, if you will, we were talking today about making our wall of fame basically look like a comic book page.
Awesome.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Which I mean, now, all the trainers are like super excited about that. And I'm like, okay, well then let's make it happen. I mean, don't put it all on me. Let's make this happen. So they're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So.
And you know what? You ought to look at, especially in your town, Keith, because you got artists galore there. Find some young aspiring artist who will do the work for maybe a dirt cheap price, or maybe even on spec, just to get his name out there. You barter, so you don't have to come out of pocket, because there's a lot of way, and you could promote it because you put out the press release, hey, about the wall, and you put this guy's name in it, this outstanding new artist, and he gets his name on the wall, whatever, however you want to do it. But I would look into bartering.
That's a great idea, because I've actually thought about seeing about the same kind of thing, but having them maybe do a mural in one of our, just a superhero mural or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah,
that's
in
awesome.
The process of that, Keith, don't forget to put in the common enemies, right?
Yeah.
Atrophy.
That's right. Put them out there so, you have the opposing. I mean, what's a superhero without an enemy, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's right. But you should show them with your clients, like with their boot on the enemy's neck.
That's right.
I love that.
And a lot of the kapow and bam stuff.
Yeah, we've talked about doing, the POW, and it's the big starburst or whatever, putting those up high on the wall for our wall shots, telling people they have to, when they're doing wall balls, like, you gotta hit the POW and the zap and the,
That would be awesome. When you do that, you definitely got to share the picture, because that would be very cool to see.
You got it. Actually,
that'd be a good reason for Aaron and me to come out and visit you in Asheville.
Well.
It's freaking beautiful out there too, especially around this time of year, but a little early.
We got just a couple of breweries, if you may have heard. So
yeah. You do. And great lakes and beautiful scenery. Man, yeah, it's nice. All right, well, that's outstanding. Great. Wayne, let's go to you, brother. How are you, man?
Good. Sorry I missed the last 2 weeks, guys. Hey, Keith, don't forget that ad that used to be in the back of comics. I think it was Charles Atlas.
Right.
The guy on the beach beating up the skinny guy.
Right on.
Yeah, he doesn't kick sand in my face anymore. That you can find that. You can Google that. You can get that whole comic right online. Yeah, that's a great idea, Wayne.
Right.
That is a great idea.
Okay. Well.
So what's going on with you? How are things going, and what can we help you with?
I can't really think of anything that I need help with. I just like plugging in with you guys. The check-ins are up. We keep pushing that after every booth is done, and we actually have a lot of referrals coming in from the check-ins. One of our members just sent me a screenshot of a message that she received from her friend that just joined this morning. She said, hey, I just want to let you know I joined this morning, and it was because of your check-ins all the time, and I joined these guys over the local CrossFit place. That's always going good. I just did a local or a recent email promotion for Paid in Full. Got about $4,000 so far from that.
Nice.
And I've been busy trying to keep personal touch with a 6-week promotion that's just ending and a 30-day promotion that's all ending within 2 weeks. I've been trying to really keep personal touch with these people to give them the personal attention.
Yeah.
Quite a few of those are ending up joining.
Excellent. Excellent. Are you finding any issues with that? Is it, I mean, anything coming up that's made it more challenging than you'd hoped or better than you'd hoped, or what's your experience been so far with that personal touch process?
The personal touch has been going better because of using the text messaging that I can, it's saving some time using the Scipio app I told you about, because the first name.
Yeah.
And send one message to send to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And what used to take me 30 minutes can only take a few minutes, but it can look like a really personal message that I'm sending to a bunch of people. And because it's got their name in there, they feel like it's more personal, and I'm getting more response back. It takes some time. But one of the things that I did wrong was what we talked about with Strava a couple weeks ago, is that I didn't set it up properly in the beginning. When these people initially signed up orientation, I didn't set it up so for them to automatically roll into a membership at the end. So now I'm having to more talk with each one individually,
right,
to convert them to a membership instead.
Are you comfortable though with how Rick described that process and the tool that he provided? Were you able to get that, the tool that he uploaded to the member site?
I haven't looked at it yet, but from what he described, it's really similar to what I had done before. And before I do another group orientation, I was going to go back and make sure that I did it the way that he did it.
Yeah, awesome. And I don't think he'd mind me saying that if you've got questions, to reach out to him, because he's as you know, just a great guy, and he'll be happy to help. I mean, and I think that is really a powerful process. That fast action offer that he's got.
Yeah, I've done it like that in the past, and it just depends on how you word it. Just how you set it up, and it can work really well. Yeah,
no doubt. It's all. I mean, it's not all about you. You need to have the right phraseology. There's no doubt, but then it comes down to your the way you present yourself. Because they're buying you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, good. Well, business in general going well?
Yeah, going up. Yeah. I have 160 something members now.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. By any standard, I think you do know that, Wayne, that is really a solid number.
Yeah, but when I hear numbers like you guys throwing out, it makes me realize that there's always something more to shoot for. So I'm trying to hold myself to you guys' standards.
Yeah, well, Fred's a freak, so don't compare yourself to him. but yeah, I mean, what I would tell you is that I've known guys who have rock solid businesses. Brad Linder, perfect example. Rock solid, highly profitable business. I don't know that he's ever cracked 150 boot campers. I think his goal for years was to get to 150. I think he's hovered around the 140 mark I could be wrong. He might be a little over 150 now, but I don't think much. But he has a very profitable, very solid, successful business. So, there's things that you can do, but that's a solid number. What you've got is really is good.
Thank you. I think we've reached a price threshold. We went up from 147 to 167, and I seem to get a little more resistance, but it just makes you up your game to offer more service. But I don't think I'm going to go much higher than 167. A lot of our boot camps go up to 197 or even more per month. I think at least for a while I'm going to stay at 167. I have added a couple services that I think is going to help. I got a small device called Breathing, where it measures metabolism, resting metabolism. Quite a few members have done that already, so it helps them tweak their diet a little bit. And I'm going to be getting heart rate monitoring that's on a screen. It's called MyZone. I'll be getting that soon, I think. I think that'll help just add some extra benefits.
Are those continuity based, reoccurring charges, or is it a one-off sale?
The Breathing is a continuing. It's I'm charging a one-time $39. The materials, it costs about $7 to do it. So, it's a good little profit center, but it's a value-added benefit to them so they can see what their resting metabolism actually is instead of just guessing. And a lot of people aren't eating enough because they think exercise more, eat less, of course. So letting them that their metabolism is slow because they need to eat more is a big help to people. So that's the current thing. I'm suggesting people do it at least once a month or every 6 weeks. I think that will help.
Yeah, good. I'll tell you, and the other neat thing about some of the technology is that it can be positioned as kind of this sort of magical thing. And you can actually use it as a good front-end offer, as a good lead generator, you know, or not specifically a lead generator, but as a front-end offer. Look, you could sell, you know, talk this up like the magic of this machine type thing and what it does for you. And you sell, you know, an opportunity to get tested and all this stuff. And that's it for $19. They come in, they get tested, and then you upsell them into your service potentially. So there's that side of it too. It's not just as a back end, it can also be used as a front end.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Good. Well, that's exciting stuff. But I will comment about your price, what you mentioned about the price. I agree. You need to know your demographics and what your area, you know, what their where the elasticity ends in pricing, but that comes through testing. I know you just sort of bumped your prices up recently, and I hear you about meeting some resistance. Well, all I would say at this point is just wait, continue to sell at that price, continue to, as you mentioned, improve your service, work on that. As you heard Fred talk about earlier, you know, just developing that, the strength of relationships, the strength of service that you provide, so that people really, the word of mouth starts growing as a result of that. And also the perception of value, of course. And then you start testing the price barriers again, because you always want to be testing price, not too frequently, but you never want to stop. You never want to just say, okay, I'm good here. Because until you push the boundaries and you know for sure that you're not going to get any more, then you don't know for sure until you do. If hopefully that makes sense to you. Because the point is we talked about before, the magic is in the margin, so you always want to try and be maximizing that margin.
Well, one of the interesting things I've noticed is that you guys have probably seen before is that when I was below 150 a month, I was dealing with a certain type of demographic where they might have been struggling to pay it, but they were paying it. There would be some bounced payments at the first of the month. People were always complaining about the price and struggling with it. On to 167, I'm starting to get people that they don't blink at 167. So you're dealing with a higher income, I think, population, and that seems a lot nicer. I think I'd rather deal with that than somebody always complaining about it and they're paying this month.
So what did you do different to get that higher customer? Did you change your did you run a Facebook ad with a higher demographic, or what? How did you start getting the higher, less complaining client?
I think the same ones were here before. I didn't do anything any different. There wasn't anything advertising. It's just that they didn't resist the 167. I may be getting more that says 167 is too much, but those are the same people that's probably going to complain about, 120.
All right, so I got a true story for you. I can't name names here because I just can't. But I know of 2 fitness facilities literally within a mile and a half of each other. And one of them is making, about $500,000 a year. The other one's making $1 million too. And they're down the street from each other. One of them is on the main thoroughfare highway, and the other one's tucked up between 2 restaurants in a strip mall you can't see from the street. And the one that's tucked away in the middle of the between the two restaurants is the one that did the $1.2 million, while the one down the street on the main thoroughfare, sitting in its own building, only did $500,000. So ultimately, this little hole in the wall netted more than the other one grossed. Right? So I had the guy on the phone talking to him about it, and here's what he told me. He says, I just decided to start raising the rates. Every time a new customer came in, I upped the rate. And I was just going to find out what people refused to pay. And so he's got clients in his facility that pay on the lower end somewhere around $150 a month, up to $300, $400, $500 a month. And he just went to his Facebook campaigns and he just punched that demographic up. He eliminated anybody under an X amount of dollars, presumably $100,000 per household. I don't know what that was. But he just didn't quit. He did not stop, and he just kept adding. And every time somebody would come to the door, he would increase the rate. So he's got people on the same floor playing one price, low price and high price, and literally blew his business up.
Yeah, it shows you that it's about perception. It's about perception. It's not. We have preconceived notions. I remember, when I was starting out in sales way back in the day and I wasn't making any money, I was convinced that, like, for instance, I used to sell pest control. One of the many things I've sold over the years. I was convinced that people there would be price resistance at $47 a month reoccurring pest control service. Because I thought $47 a month, shit, that's more than I can't afford. How could anybody pay that much? Just stupid. That's the kind of mental games we play with ourselves. It's a head trash we put in our head. $47 a month is dropping them. People don't think twice about that. And just the same way somebody might not think twice about 47, they might not think twice about 247. There's just so much money floating around out there. There's a lot of people paying. So it's all about perception. It's all about really the way you present yourself, the people that you are that you're trying to attract, and the confidence with which you present your opportunity. And this guy that Aaron's talking about, who I know is presents, and I don't mean just in person, but the way he does his website and everything, incredible confidence, and it just permeates. You get it, and you're like, I believe this dude. I believe he'll deliver the results he's promising. So, yeah, think about that.
Thanks.
All right, Adrian, I know you blocked out, but if you want to chat, we're available. Hey, man.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right,
I'm here in my little office with these two clowns over here. That's Michelle and Adam.
Hey, clowns.
The say clowns. I should probably turn the headphones off so we can hear you. Oh, great.
A lot more like you than we thought.
No.
How's it going, Adrian?
Good. It's going well.
Good.
Yeah.
But give us an update and let us know how we can help you.
So basically, we're just trying to figure out how to – I was talking with Aaron about it for a while, actually. Just trying to figure out how to make our sales process more streamlined. Because what we've been doing is we've pretty much been doing pre-calls over the phone. We realized that it's been more of a headache than it needs to be. So we're trying to figure out a way to make it so that we can go back to the way to when I was doing it all. It's just anyone start on a trial, and then we immediately set up a one-to-one meeting with them in person. So right now, Michelle and I just had to talk about it where we just have to decide if she wants to do the sales part or if she wants to do the admin part. And then we hire a full-time salesperson, or Michelle does some sales and then we get an admin person, and then Adam does some sales as well. So we're just trying to figure out what the easiest way to do it would be.
Let's back up just a little bit and frame this more in context, Adrian.
Yeah.
Tell me how you were doing it before and then how it changed.
Yeah. So the way it was before was anyone would come in and they would start a trial, and then really, really shortly into their trial, I would just reach out to them, and then we would just set up a meeting one-on-one, and then we go over their goals and then go over memberships, and then either they would close or they would not, and then we'd follow up with them. which was a pretty simple process. So that's what it was in the beginning. And then we transitioned to it. It was actually after I joined MPE, and then they started teaching us how to do the pre-qual system where we didn't have people try it out. We would just pre-qual them over the phone and then get them in. But then we realized that a lot of people, because of the culture that I set in the beginning, a lot of people already heard of their friend doing it, or they wanted to try it. So they wanted to try it out before, and then they wanted to like see what was going to happen. You know, so then we went back to letting people try it out.
Okay, so based on the numbers, then the pre-qualification process decreased your sale. Ultimately, your total revenue dropped as a result. It didn't improve; it went down.
Right. Yeah. Right. It stagnated more or less, is what it did.
All right.
Well, there's a bit of a nuance here, though. What he's calling a pre-qual is really not a pre-qualification call before they come in. It's an after call. It's almost like a post call or a post equal, right?
Yeah, because it would be like a few days into the start of their trial, we'd set up the pre-qual call, because then they'd have the chance to at least experience it, get the workout in, or get 2 workouts in or 3, and then we would have the phone call about, hey, this is, you know, what are your goals as the memberships, things like that.
Okay, and so that caused things to dip, and as opposed to the process you started with, which was giving them a week or 2 week free trial and then closing them, right?
Yeah, face to face. Yeah, so I guess the biggest transition would have gone from we sold face to face, and then using the phone call method, we started trying to sell over the phone. I guess that there would be the biggest transition, because we would try to make it like the phone call was supposed to be to deem if they could afford it and if they were the decision maker, you know. But it just, either way we've done it, it hasn't mattered.
Yeah, but when you started doing the phone, trying to sell on the phone, that's when things plateaued, stagnated, or dropped. They didn't get better. Let's leave it at that, right?
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So just off the top of my head, listening to this, I think, you know, as we've talked about many, many times, there is nothing more important in business than that sales presentation, than that getting the money, closing the sale. That's it. Without that, you got nothing. So that has to get dialed in. Good that you're working on doing it. No, there is no more powerful way to sell than one-on-one, belly to belly, nose to nose. You just can't. And to sell on the phone, some people are very good at it. Some people it's challenging. I'm not particularly good on the phone. Belly to belly, I'm real good. So I think it seems like you've proven that the belly to belly close works best for you. So why did you deviate? You were just testing a new method and you found the method didn't work that well. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It just took us a while to learn that.
Yeah. So what's the problem with going back to the old process? Is it just that you don't have the scalability?
Timing, I think, because when I was doing it, and I was actually telling Aaron this too, when I was doing it by myself, I would schedule it between the times I train sessions, and I would be here from, 4 a.m. until 10 p.m. That's fine, because it had to happen, right? So the biggest thing seems to be time and having just the person designated to do it. So Michelle and I just had a conversation, and it's important for her to be with family. Really important, actually, for her to be there with family. But then otherwise, sorry. So I'm just going to plug my headphones in.
Yeah.
But it's hard for them to, hang on, I'm going to move really quick.
Okay.
Interfere with people. There's a meeting going on there.
Yeah.
But it seems to be just timing, because for Michelle, family is really important, and I don't want to keep her here until like 8 p.m. at night when she needs to be there for her kid, and her husband works a lot too. So that's one factor to consider. And then the other would be to get actually Adam, our head coach, to do sales. But then the trick there is to do training and sales, and that's hard.
All right. Yeah, your priority is wrong, and I'll tell you, your priority is not to find someone who can sell. Your priority is find someone who can pick up your training session so you can sell more. Nobody's going to be able to sell that better than you. And I mean, you get a hired gun, sure, it's so hard to find a hired gun salesperson that really buys in at this level. You know, if you're going to make $250,000 a year, yeah, you'll find great talent. But to make 50 grand a year, you're not going to, it's going to be tough. You need to be the one selling, or Michelle, if she's very good and but the time is like, you do everything in your business to maximize the sales process. So everything else is secondary in terms of priority. So if Michelle can only be there from, let's say, 10 to 4, then boom, that's when all your sales get booked in there that, you know, for her, and the ones that can't come in those periods of time you handle.
Okay.
That's what I would suggest. But I'd like to get input from Mike, Fred, Aaron, Wayne, everybody that has comments on this, because this is a good discussion to have. Mike, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100% because I've gone through that same process. Nobody, sales numbers wise, I had only one other person that was ever doing sales. I do all of them, and we use a process. We don't really do any selling over the phone. Everything starts with the eval, and we kind of pre-qualify in that eval where, similar to what Rick does in any of our stuff, we, regardless of what Facebook ad it is that we're running for some type of especially with our weight loss people, if it's for, you know, a 21-day jump start or whatever it is, we bring them in and I do the whole sales process. We go to the goal setting, we do it in eval. We always tell them that, you know, the first piece is to meet with us first, because we want to make sure that, you know, they're a good fit for the program and they're a good fit for them. We don't just have anybody come and join a session. So that usually does pretty well. People kind of start to already see there's a difference between us and the typical gym. And then when I get them belly to belly, like you said, really high success rate. So I agree with you. Nobody's ever going to sell your business better than you.
She just keeps around.
It's really been a huge success for us. I get them in face to face right off the bat before they even step on the floor. And we sell them before they even start.
Read my phone real quick.
Wait, who's got the background? Is it Adrian? Is that you, or is it somebody else?
Yeah, probably me. I'll mute myself.
All right, cool. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Did you have more to say?
So yeah, I mean, for us, they'll come in on that challenge or whatever it is, and we sell them long term right off the bat, and then it's up to them if they're not happy within the first whatever, for whatever reason, if we're not holding up our end of the bargain, they can cancel it. But we also tell them that we hold the right too, that if they're not holding up their end of the bargain of all the things that they said and working towards accomplishing those goals, that we actually have the right to terminate it as well. And that kind of reverse sales piece of it surprisingly really hits home. We actually make them sign a pledge that they sign a pledge to us that they're going to hold up their end of the bargain for a 12-month membership. And this is when they're coming in the door on a 21-day trial. They're going to hold up their end of the bargain on a 12-month membership. And within the first 30 days, either one of us can fire each other. And it works really well.
That's strong.
We signed up 10 people last week, and that's for sports performance. That was for our semi-private, and they're paying over like $300 a month, and we signed up 10 people in the last week.
Yeah.
That's strong. And you made me think of something. Adrian, if you haven't read it yet, read Dan Kennedy's No BS Sales Success book. And he's got an entire chapter on there on takeaway selling, and that's exactly what Mike just described.
I've read that. So, and I'm listening, but one of my concerns then is that, because the goal here is to have 2 locations in the future. So selling is an important part of that. So and I always want to start with the end in mind. So yeah, I could go back in and do selling, but I feel like that would then stagnate the purpose of having a second location in the future. So what should I do in the meantime to make that happen?
I think in my point of view, from where I'm coming from, whether you're training the other female that you mentioned as far as her doing sales, but why couldn't you have your sales session scheduled on certain days? So that's what we do here. So our admin will schedule our evals for specific days. So I could do like 3 days. I might be doing 3 days and in the week, or I'll have like 6 or 7 evals. But if you had multiple locations, those 3 days you're here, you do the evals here. The other location are the other days as well. Or you have, like you said, you have that other girl that's doing some sales for you and continue to develop her.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if that's the right way, but that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I would look at training. I agree with what Mike just said. If Michelle is enthusiastic about sales, because that's the thing. So a lot of people are resistant, particularly in the fitness industry. It's very interesting, very resistant to sales. So if she's not, then great. She might be a very good prospect for someone that you could train up on how to sell and sell effectively, and therefore you'd have one other person. But in my opinion, and I hear what you're saying, starting with the end in mind. But your goal right now is for you to get as good, dial that process in and get as freaking good at selling as you can possibly get. And that never stops because that's business. Business is selling. So I would do what Mike said. I would funnel everybody into the time slots that's available for you. If you have a few that pop out of there, fine. Have Michelle pick them up or whoever else can pick them up. But your goal ideally as the business owner, not your goal, but your role should be sales and communication. It's those, and a little bit of management, but ideally you got a director of training or somebody else as you grow that takes over some of those management roles, so that you're doing sales and you're doing communication, and that's essentially it. You might have somebody to support you in that, but selling, that's where the money is made, and that's why it should be your responsibility, in my view.
And so this is what goes back to our conversation earlier, Adrian, that there's two things you never delegate in your business. One is the math, the money, right? That's on you. The other one's the message. That's on you, right? And so it is the same thing. It is the sales and the communication. That is your job.
I like that. The math and the message. Fred,
yeah, I have to go, but real quick, I used to, up until probably about 18 months ago, I used to do all the sales until I started my online business, and then there was just no way. And a lot of that depends. I mean, there's always factors. A lot of it depends on, we get, 20 to 40 leads a month. There was just no way that I could do them. So I trained my staff to do them. And so we have a two-step process. I funnel everybody through my admin, and she pre-quals them. That's just making them know what they're going to be up against when they get there. But then we do what's called a strategy session, similar to what he was talking about a second ago. We do their body composition. We do a functional movement screen. We sit them down, go over goals, go over our nutrition, and that's how we can sell them back, what they need versus just selling them anything. And, they give you every ounce of information you need to sell them something back. And, my coaches are trained to ask the emotional questions, Also, the marketing that I do with the amount of emails I send out, newsletters, this, that, and the other, Facebook posts consistently has people pre-qualified. For instance, a lady just posted a before and after and congratulated her, and she emailed and said, I've been, reading your stuff for 6 months prior to coming in, that kind of thing. So all my correspondence is geared towards getting them to come to the facility, but they already, and some people don't put their prices on their website. I do. So I'm not afraid to tell people how much I cost. I think it helps. Some people say it scares people away. If you have a higher ticket thing, it may or may not, but if you're providing a good service. The last thing I wanted to say is, testing and measuring, right? Seeing results, having something actually put in place and work requires time. Like I tell everybody with these products, anytime you implement a new price or a new sales system, you have to give it some time to get people adjusted, especially if it's different from what you've been doing. And creating that whole idea of a culture, like you talked about, a culture of referrals. There's a culture in the way that you coach. There's a culture in the way that you sell. There's a culture in the way that you deliver your training. There's a culture in the way that people refer your business. There's a culture in the way that you give back to your community. All of those are pre-qualifications. So when people come into our business, they have a pretty clear understanding of what we do, how we do it, and how we give back, which makes it a lot easier. And I think that stuff comes with time. That's what I've learned. That whole idea of branding, yourself.
Yeah, your positioning in the marketplace and all those things. Yeah.
Just my 2 cents. But anyway, I have to go. But awesome call. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. Appreciate it. And love what Fred just said, because it gives you a different perspective to look at, Adrian. But what I want to qualify what Fred said is that he is now at the, I believe, Fred, you've been in business how long now?
4.5 years.
4.5. Okay, Adrian, how long you been in business?
Almost 2.
Okay, so as you heard Fred say, he originally did all the selling. Now he's transitioned out of that. So I see, and that's a great goal to have if you can make it work. But,
no doubt.
Yeah, the point that I'm trying to make here that I think is to never try and abdicate is too strong a word. You're not trying to abdicate your responsibility here, but I just say that in your situation, dial in your process, continue to work on it, get it refined, your sales process, and then bring Michelle on, bring on others, train them up, start giving them opportunities to sell, see how their numbers are, always be ready to step in if their numbers drop, because again, the selling is everything, and just work that process. Because if you do want to work yourself out like Fred has of the sales process, then it can obviously be done. But you've got to make sure that your sales process is working before you step away. I hope that makes sense to you.
It does. It sounds like something we were doing actually before we started doing the MPE method, because I would still do in-person consults. Michelle would do them as well, and then we would tag team it both ways, which is why my thought process was to do it between Michelle and Adam, and then obviously I would coach them along with each consult to see how it went, and then continue to get feedback to improve their skills. So that way I can train both of them to do it. That was the goal that I had in mind. Not necessarily take myself completely out of it, but empower my team to be able to do it just as well. Well, the goal is just as well, but with messaging, with empathy, things of that nature. And that's what Michelle and I just talked about. She's concerned about pay structure and things like that, because she wants to make sure she can still pay her bills and provide for the family too. So it's going to be a lot on her decision. Like if she decides she wants to do admin work, then I may have to be in a place where I get back into doing most of the sales and then train somebody else along to help me out with it, which would be the hard part, which I'm not sure how to do quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And it's a tricky process. The only thing that scares me a little bit about, and it really depends on where you are. I'm not privy to all your numbers. I don't know what your exact situation is. It sounds like your business is solid. What I worry about when I hand off, if I were to hand off sales, which I've never done ever in my entire career as a business owner, I've never handed it off. Always been, sales been my responsibility. The thing that would scare me about it is that you get a dip, because the thing is, it takes at bats for somebody to get good at sales. You got to have at bats. You got to get in there and get reps. And each one of those reps is an expensive opportunity, because if you don't, you could maybe close them. If they don't close them, and that happens 5, 6, 7 times in a row, your revenue can take a significant dip. So you've got to watch that really closely. I agree. You want to train them up. You want to get leverage so you can get help, particularly with your goals for expansion. You just have to be very sensitive about how you do it. And the best way is to right now focus on you dialing in your sales process. So you just get everything squared away, scripted out, soup to nuts, from every part of it, every bit of it. So it's just as clear as possible. And then you start training up people, because you've got a process that works. And so the only variable at that point becomes that person. So if sales take a dip and they're not closing, you got a problem, and where the problem is. You follow me? Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
All right, Wayne, anything you want to add on this conversation? All right. Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, but listen, you're young. You don't need to sleep, Adrian. Just no. You're smart. I love the way that you said start with the end in mind. Anytime anybody that quotes Covey to me, I'm like, I'll listen to you. because so you know that you're right, but it's a process, and this is the most critical process in business. So that's why we spend a lot of time on it. Why I'm kind of get emotional about it, and why I want you to really think about how you work through this. And one other thing, if you want additional help, there's nobody that I know that there are two people that I can recommend most highly when it comes to sales. That is Dick Chilton and my wife, Camelia, in terms of teaching you and dialing in your sales process. Dick was the guy who created AutoCloser. Camelia is the person who teaches AutoCloser, taught it for years, and now she's developed her own system. So if you want to talk to somebody about how to iron out your sales process, she's the person to talk to. You don't have to sign up for her and become a full, an ongoing client with her. You can just get a 1 or 2 off calls with her if she has time. It's all up to that. But if you have concerns, she's the person I would reach out to. Or we can put you in touch with Dick if you want to do that. You just got to be ready for Dick to, well, you're good with it. Dick's take no prisoners kind of thing. He's just very abrupt. And so, you can't let your feelings get hurt by anything he says, is what I'm getting at.
But you get the resource of Camelia anyway through Eric. You reach out, see what she has to say for sure. Yeah, it might be worthwhile for you, but I think you're on the right path. And I mean, I know you are. You're here and you're asking questions, and that's the right path. Does that help at all? Do you feel any better about this, or do you feel more confused?
I feel like taking a step back in a way. Like I always need to revisit it and refine it, where I thought I was going in the right direction, but I realized I wasn't. So it's a mix of frustration, and wondering what it's going to take for me to completely, not completely, but at least delegate that aspect of the business.
Right. Well,
somebody can just do it in-house.
Then, so what I would suggest to you is write down your vision. If this is your vision that you want to be able to delegate this, you'd like to step out of that, as soon as you can. I would just be clear about that, write that down, and then consider what other options you have, or how best to move forward towards that. Just get it clear, get it on a piece of paper, and then the next step is, if you're continuing to be frustrated and you need help, you need to talk to Camelia, because she'll get you squared away pronto. That's the best thing I can tell you, because she knows sales. She can dial it in. This is what she does all day long with her people.
Okay.
All right.
Makes sense.
All right, man. Guys, then we're going to wrap it up. Thank you both, everybody that was on the call today, very much. We appreciate it. It was a good call, and have a great weekend. All right.
Cool.
All right. Take care.